Well, it's 250 subs. What better way to celebrate in this most special internet YouTube way? Now, I know some of you are European and some of you are American, but that's what's known as United Kingdom Great British toilet humour. And what a disgusting way to start the 250 subscriber special. 250 subscriber special. 250 subscriber special. I've been watching the number creep along for a good month or so now. It's crept closer to 250 and I've been waiting for this day. You know, I almost blew a valve doing it. Punk! You know, and that valve grew and grew until it had like animals in it and fucking trees and all sorts. Don't give it, is a proper fucking valve. The witchery valve. Anyway, I'm talking out of bollocks now, but yeah, very pleased. Very pleased. It's a landmark, you know. It's a landmark. And so I think straight away, because I'm losing the light and I'm losing the volume, I better shut the window. Like, I'm just going to play some bits for you, just for a minute, and then I've got things to say. Let's add a bit of like full drive to MOSFET clone. A bit of K-Mize tremolo pedal. Boost off of the Crazy Cacti, which is the MOSFET clone. And this is doing the same thing, right? This is just the amp. Sounds great, doesn't it? I love it. Well, I say it sounds great. I say it sounds great, you know. Bit of old school 70s phaser on that bitch. On the foot though. So you bring it in and out, nobody knows really when. With the tube screamer then. Now I'm going to take a tube screamer off, go full drive MOSFET. Alright, that'll do. So, yeah, obviously playing the 335 and loving it. Really, really pleased with it. So, like, I was just a noodle there. I've been playing all day, and to be honest, I've got to that point where I'm either tired and I've had enough. Sorry, excuse me. You know, or I'm just starting to dig in on a really deep level, and like I'm you know, about to get like a second wind. But either way, you know, like I'm really happy here working. Usually in headphones, like right here. Like everything's pretty well set up here. I'll give you a quick scan actually, and we'll carry on. But yeah, like I'll just give you a very like brief scan. So you've seen most of it. Look, just look down on the floor, and you can see on the floor what's going on. So like, you know, that's the line 6, and that on the effects loop is the drive section, you know, which is like Demon Tube Screamer into like Crazy Cacti into the K-Mize Tremolo, and there's also obviously it's the line 6, and there's all sorts. And then yeah, around here, you know, we've got this, which are like a lot of the drums are stored on, and the Black Star amp, and the drums are obviously going into the like auxiliary of the Black Star amp, so it's all a bit compromised. But yeah, you know, we've got everything here really, everything I need. You know, my little lightweight sort of portable recording device there, the Boss BL600, has actually got like an integral stereo microphone on it. So, you know, with a, you know, with this, with a traditional telly, with a Telly Deluxe, with an active Jazz Master, the thing, mate, Mark got me for my birthday. Bless you, Mark, if you're watching. What a wonderful thing. I'm loving that Encore, and it's a shame. I'm afraid as a player's guitar, it's not going to be able to be kept all original like I wanted. Even though that's what I really wanted, it's like, you know, the block is crumbling, so I'll have to go Floyd on it at some point if it's going to be a player's guitar. But I'm going to preserve it as long as possible and see what I can do. Because to be honest, I want to keep that dead original, like absolutely original, because it's so of its time, right? But mate, I really value that gift. That is a gift from one guitar player to another, and like, you know, I have a real love of heavy metal. Someone put in a comment the other day, like, how come being as you're so good at finger picking, and that's obviously your thing, and you're really good at it, like, why do you just play metal that you're okay at, and like there's so much competition? And you know, he's absolutely right, and that was said by the guy that wasn't my manager, but you know, because I wouldn't have one, but was like my acting manager, and like was certainly like my biggest you know, help, and in all ways, you know, for my dip into the music scene, you know, and over 20 fucking years ago now, like a loser that I am, like, has been, never was. You know, I mean, it's like I've worked with some people, but like that's it, and there's nothing like to show for anything, like, you know, apart from what I can do with my hands. That's it, you know. So yeah, it's I can't remember. I lost my point. Encore, anyway. A fabulous gift from one player to another. Like, you know, I love metal. That was my first love, and that's that. And I enjoy doing it. You know, I'm good at the finger picking stuff, and I do love it, but I don't love it with the same amount of like childlike innocence and utter, complete worship and passion as I do with like heavy metal. And the heavy metal bands that got me into music, that got me engaged with music in the first place, you know, before, you know, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, Metallica, all in one, right, in like 1985, right? Like, and I was just a kid, right? Those three hit me at the same time. I'd experienced music before that, you know, but like, that was what really made me, you know, Hawkwind as well, one of the very first. I tell you, there was a place called Trago Mills, which if you was a yokel in Devon like I was, you know, that was the one place where you could buy everything in one place, like a shopping compound where you could get everything from like, you know, a whole bathroom to like a fucking pot noodle, you know, and everything, and like all, you know, toys, and then like when I got a bit, you know, more mature, books and cassettes, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, like, so, you know, that's why I do it, that's why I bang into it. But I've had a go at like many styles. Anything that a rock and roll band does, which to me is like a guitarist, a singer, a bassist, a drummer, and like variations in that, obviously, like keyboardists, organists, two guitars, all sorts of things. There's millions of variations within that, but that's basically the recipe. Anything you can do with that, like I've stuck my head into it at some point, and it might not be like the thing that is my passion, because that's the difference. What I do when I'm unwinding, what music do I like when I'm just being myself, and it's like, well, Slayer. But to be honest, I'm just as likely to put like Nick Drake on, which is like what people know me for, is that sort of like acoustic guitar playing. It's amazing how many people lately have said Leo Kottke, and it's like, wow, man, it's like fucking what incredible fucking praise that is. There's a video of Leo fucking playing on top of a skyscraper in Manhattan for some newsy at like 8 a.m. or 7:30 a.m. there, East Coast time, and it's like fucking freezing cold and windy, and he plays like this finger picking on a 12 string, and it's just the coolest fucking thing you'll ever see. But yeah, so all said, all this waffling and everything, like it makes me feel really pleased and proud, like up to 250 subscribers. I mean, it's like hard going. I've been at it for fucking ages. I mean, I've been sort of off and on regular since like 2017, and like and it's gone through different formats. It was purely like me doing the music, like just putting on what I'm working on, and other times like doing like a piece to camera. Like the Gorilla Gig podcast is all piece to camera, me with an acoustic doing a piece to camera, and really they're the best videos. And it was like a completely different viewer base then, and but the view count hasn't changed much, but it's just the viewer base, and I've gone on to like from like a sort of like 50-50 male female audience that was there for the music, and I sort of pivoted somewhat to a fucking like 95% male audience talking about music gear, like cheap gear. And it's just because, like, that's not strictly true. I'm going to basically mix it all up a lot more. Like, I'm not going to change anything. Like, if anything changes, it'll be a better quality camera, right? And, like, if I'm doing something about pedals, there might be an inserted graphic, maybe. I might go that far, but I'm never going to do cuts. Like, this has got to be stream of consciousness. Because they're the ones that I like. 'Cause it's like, when I'm enjoying it, when I'm enjoying someone like Music Is Fun or Malco or Ola England, I know he snaps it up a bit, but like he's going into the like, more. There's more distance between them, but there's a few. Like I'm trying to think. Like is it Landon? Foxy's Guitar Channel and the classics, and his name escapes me now, the American dude that winds everybody up. I've been on his chat, some of you we've talked to each other on his chat, it's just his name's gone. Loves a specific type, likes the sort of guitars Malco likes, and, it really has a pop at his homegrown engineering in the States. His name escapes me right now. But anyway, right. Dave Simpson, another one. I like people that just, like, talk to the camera. Even, I think Andertons have got it right. They don't do too much flummery, right? Even like is it Rob, like the PMTV dude? Oh, not his name's he's got quite a funky name actually. Dagan, yeah, Dagan. Like he's got like a cool thing. He's quite on this story. Or he's a good salesman. And the thing is, I can appreciate those ones like the Andertons and Dagan from PMT a bit more because they are salesmen. There's no subtlety or bullshit there. They are what they are, and it's like, okay, right, and part of being a good salesman is you don't stake your reputation on a crap product. You don't push a product you think is crap, because you've got to be sincere. Otherwise, you're not a good salesman. So I give them, right, a lot of time and a certain amount of respect, because like the more you watch someone, the more you can sort of catch their little micro expressions and stuff. So. And the way that they select their words, it's like, something might be good for some of you, and it's like, so they're never negative, but, mind you, the captain certainly has been. I've been impressed by that. But like, you know, you could get even Bill Hicks revelations on it and be like, well, you know, that's the fucking sales move in itself. You know, rejecting a product because it's shit is going to like enhance your credibility. To therefore, oh, I know it gets too labyrinthine, but that's the world of marketing. And like, you know what, this is the thing that really does get me like doing this the most, is that like YouTube is riven with marketing, even down on like the level of this, where they can create like a sort of like little grassrootsy sort of like opinion base. So if you go on like forums and threads, you'll suddenly find like a bombard of a certain type of like issue-ness or product placement, you know, something cropping up in conversation a lot in a place where it perhaps shouldn't, you know, and something has made the algorithm click. So like, you know, it might be a conversation about one thing and then suddenly there's a load of comments about how good another thing is, and so, you know, it's sometimes in detail, but the other thing isn't relative, but it's the same manufacturer, or it's like one letter out. So, you know, I don't know, it could be like, I don't know. Anyway, like I have noticed it, you know, it's like I kind of understand the signs, but like, you know, like I kind of grew up around it a little bit, you know, Mike Skanes and graffiti management, fucking, you know, bath care and fucking Shell, BP, like, I mean, like Schlumberger, and Scumbaggery. Oh, you know, I'm trying to remember the name of the lot, but anyway, Scumbag, but you know, it's what makes me very like non-money minded. But yeah, anyway, so like it's really good to sort of get to this level, because like, you know, I feel like the viewer base is like a sincere one. You know, we have much the same you know, loves and hates, well, or certainly the same passion. It's the passion for guitar that gets it. I'm just going to make a vanilla latte. I'll tell you what I've got here in this room is one of those Dolce Gusto machines, right? Hey, look at my Nescafe product placement. Sorry, I've planted that now. You know, you don't know that it could be just a really like corrupted, paranoid mind that thinks that, what I've just said. So take no notice of my nonsense. You know what I mean? But yeah, let me just... Right. So, you know, I know it's not many in the scheme of things, but it's like, you know, I come to the New Forest, having done like a good like 3 years on YouTube, like down in Chichester and up in Norfolk. Well, I didn't really do any videos when I was in Norfolk, but like, you know, in the time I was in Chichester, I did, and like, you know, I didn't have 100 subscribers when I came up here in like, you know, the day of lockdown, like March 2020. And so it's all happened, you know, since I built the studio. It started off with very humble beginnings. It's nice to go back to my first videos in the New Forest and see how bare it was, you know, see how stripped down it was. You know, it's almost like I've got a better rig now in the hotel room going light. I mean, certainly like what's on the floor is pretty crazy, you've got to admit. I'm really pleased and proud. But yeah, the Ibanez there, you know, it's like, that's such a significant, you know, I've been, you know, this is, as well as more than the 250 subscribers, right? I had a hit list, and it was all the sounds that I wanted to own. It was all the electric guitars that I wanted to own in an ideal world, right, to use in the studio. All the paints in the tone palette, you know, that I go on about, and, you know, I'm only half serious, because I am a tone anorak at the end of the day. Yeah, I'm an addict, you know, I love it. I mean, let's give you a for instance, okay, like I just showed off a few tremolo effects. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, right? Do you prefer your tremolo? How do you like your tremolo? Do you prefer it optical or bias? Now, how many of you, okay, said optical, but you probably don't even, or a good chunk of you would have said optical and you know why. A good chunk of you would have said optical and you don't know why. And I'd say a very tiny percentage of us would have said bias, and we do know why. But like, all of us appreciate that distinction, and if we don't appreciate that distinction yet, we will do at some point. I mean, I'm really deeply into effects. Like, I put everything on my foot. Like, it is not unusual for me to put everything on my foot. Like, everything's on expression pedals. Like, I'm on them much more than the average player. Like, I'm on and off. Like, you know, I don't tend to blanket stuff. It's like I tend to dibba. I tend to sort of, you know, move around. I don't want to be too... it's like, you know, there are some things which, like, I don't want to do in front of you as well, because it's like, already I've given up too much, if you know what I mean. The thing is, I don't care, because it's like, it's on YouTube. There I am doing it. I've never heard or seen anyone else ever do it. And it's like, I've made it kind of obvious, but I've not said anything about it. I've just done it on camera, and I've made sure that it can be seen. And it's like, you know, it doesn't matter if somebody picks it up and like goes on and uses it. It's like, I don't care. It's like, you know, there's me doing it. I don't think you're going to find anyone ever doing it like that, like anywhere else. I'm not blowing my own horn, because I've sat on this for ages, right? I've sat on this for fucking literally decades, right? And it's like, if someone, you know, I'm getting on now, like I could be popped off tomorrow. You know, I've had some health scares. I'm not saying I will, I feel great. But it's like, you know, it's like I've had some health issues. And it's like, what will be left of like what all I like invented? If I'd rather someone pick up the technique and run with it. And maybe they were the one that gets first known for it. And they say, what a fucking like original inventive dude he is. How on earth did he come up with that? And they get all the credit. I think I'd rather that, you know, than like fucking die with it barely even being noticed, right? But it's the one thing that, like, every time I go through this thing that, like Matey put in my comments earlier, where it's like, yeah, you know, it was an acoustic player, you know, which, you know, the songs I've been, all the compositions were done, like, you know, over 20 years ago, nearly all of them, and they've been played, like, many, many times. You know, it's like, I have done gigs, it's, you know, and it's like, I don't get a kick out of them the way that I get a kick out of like making psychedelic space metal, and like some of the things that I do there, like, you know, I know I'm an also-ran, but it's like, well, there is something I do that I think gives me a place, and it's like, I've just got to record it. I don't really care the rest of it, like, you know, but anyway, I'm going to move swiftly on. But yeah, so I'm really proud, you know, we're on 250, and to sort of get guitars like these. I mean, this is a big deal. I'm so pleased and proud to have ticked the box for the hollow body, because this is another thing. You know, there were a couple of things on that hit list, which was about like 20 guitars, right? And like when I went full out, when I went full on, like, you know, forget it all. Like, just go for it, like, no trimming down, no, like, money, no object, almost, right, which is amusing. It was like 20 guitars, and like, the hollow body was a big box to tick, and I know there was no way of doing it cheap, and even if you could get one cheap, it would be terrible. So I knew this was a particular one that, you know, was going to take a while and would never be done cheap. So I'm really pleased that at this kind of difficult sort of transitional time, I mean, I would still be in that little fucking room if it was up to me. I would have never left. I was really happy there, right? Honestly, I'm not joking. I was really happy there, and I would still be there. That's the fucking truth, right? You know, but things have taken a turn differently, and I'm here, and it's like, and it's better for me, right? Everything is better for me, really, and this is like an indicator of that, a reassurance. It's not even like it's the only one, is it? You know, it's like fucking, but like, this was a box I never thought would get ticked, you know? And I'm so happy with it as well. It's like, you know, starting to play in a little more now. It's like I couldn't quite get on with the fretboard at first. And then it was just like, I do now. It's like, I really like it now. It's funny. This is like you know, it was like, if they were stood in a line and I didn't pick them up, Like, I would never have picked this, not compared to the Gretches that were there, but like, you know, sonically. And then the other, and it's like so many things about it are like the person that you meet at school that you don't get on with, right? But like, give it a little while, and that's the one you end up best friends with. This is like that, you know. It got here on merit, not on love, you know. But I've grown to really respect and love it, and I'm glad to have something with Ibanez. I've always, you know, hugely like, you know, impressed with Ibanez. When I got the LTDs, these were in second place. Third place was Jackson. I don't know if you remember, like when Fender bought like Jackson and whatnot. Like they started doing like really cheap guitars. You could get like 150 quid Flying V and shit with the Jackson on the headstock, and it was a bit of a fucking, you know, bit of a farce really. But you know, and it's I think it's damaged the brand a little bit, because you have to know it. And I wonder, is it clever? Because a big part of me, right, really wanted to sort of get one because it had Jackson on the fucking headstock, and it was like, yay. Like, look, I've got a Jackson. But the fact is, they objectively weren't quite, they were good, and they were up my street. But they weren't quite as good as the Ibanez or the LTD. And the LTD and the Ibanez were equal in terms of quality of construction and all that. And I think on a purely like playing point of view, the Ibanez was better, but on a sonic point of view and on a sort of feel and character point of view and some of the inevitable qualities, the LTD had it. You know, it was like, there's no, like, or there was no, not in those ones anyway, there wasn't any sort of like whimsy to the Ibanez. They're like a very like, but they are like like the Maestro's axe. I mean, all the really fucking top players gravitate to Ibanez. Let's be serious. And it's like, you know, and I don't know whether that's because like Ibanez go after them as part of their brand image, but like all the super shredders, like, you know, like all the really good ones, you know, they go to Ibanez, the really inventive players. I think they're a great brand. And I liked LTD had it all, because it had the quality of the Ibanez, but it kind of had the panache of the Jackson, because like, you know, I sort of watched Slayer and like Tom Aray's using an LTD, Gary Holt's using an LTD. I've seen James Hetfield with an LTD, you know, and it's like, it's not like you don't see him in hands, you know, like in basses as well. I mean, it's like, so that gave it a lot as well, you know. But like in the end, I went for the LTDs, and you know, I've said, you know, up to recently, I said, you know, I'd do the same again. Like I said, you know, I'd never choose different. But you know, that was 2016, the last time I bought a new guitar, up until recently, and I got like, and back then I got 2 pretty much at once. This time I got 3 pretty much at once. And so what's that? 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 21, 22, so 6 years after. Tell you what's funny, I went to this guitar shop and I bought an Orange 12, right? And then literally I didn't go in the guitar shop again and buy anything at all, and I went back in there and I bought the Pink Telly, right, this year, and on the receipts, like, they're the same date, so I came back in exactly a year later. I bought an amp, and then exactly a year later bought a guitar, and I didn't go in between. How weird is that? But yeah, so, you know, so we've got the hollow body, and we're up nearly to 20 guitars now, and that's the thing. It's like that hit list is like all the fucking big boys are cracked. The Les Paul, the hollow body, you know, the Floyd Rose. It's like all the ones that were going to be a pain in the arse are all cracked. They're all done. All done. It's amazing. You know, there's not much left. It's like, you know, so a PJ bass or a jazz bass. And the thing is that I like the precision neck and the shape so much that, like, if I could get, and it's the bridge sound I really want, and if I could get that on the super precision, as some people call it, or the PJ, you know, I would really like appreciate that. I think that would be awesome. But yeah, this is a bit of a beast. Give it a bit of Dodge 250. Yeah, like I've got to be quiet anyway. So, something, just a few things that are on the horizon. So, I've mentioned the Blue Crackle coming from Malco. I get paid in a few days, so that'll be happening soon. I'm swapping Mark, who's been a really great friend to the channel. Give me that encore there. In fact, let's get that out. He has set up an area where there's going to be like a proper like band rehearsal area, and needs a bass that will top a drum kit. Now I'm in no desire to get rid of my Laney amp. I know it's like big, but it's like that was like one of the first building blocks of the New Forest studio. I'd just come out of hospital and I was really weak, and it was like I got it through like Facebook Marketplace for like next to nothing, and like I have quite a fond memory of like me and Mandy going to get it in a van, and like it was an enjoyable day out, and so I'm in and I love the amp, and you can like DI out of it, like to record, and it's been fucking great, absolutely great. So I'm in no like rush to or desire to get rid of it at all. I'm very resistant to it, but he needs a big amp, and he's a complete fucking Laney stan. He loves Laney, don't you, Mark James? You love Laney. And he's offered to do a swap, and so I thought to myself, well, I've been on about getting like something smaller, a Fender Rumble, just for sort of sessioning at home, right? And also, I'm a very big proponent of get the amp you need for your situation. So, like, if I live, okay, well, I've been in the hotel, right? And so I bought the amp for the situation. If anything, I could have gone even smaller, but you don't get as many, like, modelling and all that when you go smaller. But perhaps that's the way I should have gone. But, like, that's why I got the Black Star there. It's because, I was staying in hotels. Like, I didn't have that before I lived in a hotel. So I'm a big believer in get the amp for the situation. So don't get a bloody 4x12 if you live in a council flat, And I'm a bit overamped as far as the bass is concerned. Now, if I'm working with Richard and I want my own amp or need my own amp, if I ever gig my own band, I'm going to need my own backline and equipment to get hired guns, and so there's no hassle for them. They need to be able to fucking, be conveyed over, like, and dumped on the stage and paid. It's like, it needs, otherwise I can't get people to do it. I can't make it hard for them. So I have to provide everything. So I do need a stage amp at some point. But I don't see that time being really sort of like now. Let's put it that way. I don't know how long it will be, but it's certainly not now. And so go get the amp you need. Now he's offered me, well, having already given me this, okay, which is amazing, okay, the Behringer BDI 21, and it's they call it, they call it a bass amp modeler, V-tone bass amp modeler. Well, this is a Tech 21 Sans amp, right? This is the Tech 21 Sans amp, the bass version. This is it. This is a clone of it, and it's every bit, it's exactly as good. It is so perfect to clone. I cannot stress enough. Their Tube Screamer was like that for me, like, and at both their Ibanez effects, the compressor that they do, the compressor as well. And like they are really faithful. I found the Boss clones by Behringer are exact, except they're not quite as bright. And so it's an easy fix with EQ. And what you'll find as well is one EQ, one multi effect. One graphic EQ, right, will fix all of the pedals. So you just need to get an EQ in there, Behringer one if you like, but actually I recommend against it, because it's like you want to move away from that Behringer bass that like foundational frequency feel, to get away from it and into more the Boss territory. And yeah, it just needs a little poke to be like as bright as the Boss, and like the same frequency across them all. For some reason, they just like got this like they're not quite as bright as the Boss one, but they are exact. But it's an easy fix. But the two Ibanez are exact, and other things they do are exact. I've heard good things about the copy of the Small Stone Phaser, and like I'd heard about this, but until you fucking play it, you don't believe that this is a 20 quid fucking Sans amp. And being a very long time user of that, I can testify. Like fucking, there's other bass tracks on this, right, which were recorded with a Sans amp. And I've got the fucking clone now, which I own instead of borrowing it off of John all the time, God rest his soul, right? And I'm telling you, like, it's exactly the same. To use, it's not quite the same. The EQ balances are a bit different. The values are a little bit different. But where you end up is the fucking same. You know, because one thing I'll say about a Tech 21 Sans amp, recording with the Tech 21 Sans amp, right, is really controllable. And it has more, like, fucking, like, natural amp compression than most amps. It's such a good fucking, I can't speak highly of it enough. So I've been using that, and like, nice one, Mark. So he's already given me that. So like, I'm not going to be using the DI out, or as good as it is, I'm not going to bother like hitting a plug and like generate, it has a cooling fan. It's a massive amp. I'm not going to do all that just to sort of DI out of it and record like into a digital interface, like with no volume, no actual apparent volume in the room. I'm not going to like use that extra power now, right? Now that I've got this, I have been doing that, like, because I didn't have a Sans amp or a clone. So like, I'm not going to be using it like that. So, and you've already given me this, Mark, right? And you're offering me, for that amp, you're offering me another Laney bass amp that's like 20 watts or 10 watts or whatever it is. And a like a pod clone, but a bass one, like a Behringer again. I can't remember what it's called, but like, that and a little Laney bass amp, and that's fucking, I mean, yeah, man, and he was like, and some cash, and I'm like, no cash. It's like, that's plenty fucking good enough, more than good enough. And it's like, the thing is, he's enough of a Laney fan that he'll get a Laney logo, because mine's missing the big Laney logo, and he'll put it back on with pride. So he'll actually, as much as I've got a lot of fondness for that amp, it's like, I can't not, if it's doing him a favour as well, and I'm like getting an amp and a fucking like bass modelling thing out of it, that's fucking brilliant, mate. Like, why wouldn't I? Like, that's like, because you've got to have the amp for the situation, and who knows, I might end up preferring the little Laney than the big one. I'll be surprised, because I really am fond of that big Laney. But it's like, if I ever get the opportunity to get another one, I will. But like, when I need one, I'll get something. But yeah, fucking, that's something that's on the horizon. And as far as like, like the enjoyable day out and all that, the memory that goes with an item, it's like, we did go out and get other stuff. It's like the Vox amp is another one. Like I've got I'll never get rid of that. But like, I've got like, that was wicked when we went to get the Vox amp. Because like, I had to bribe her into it, so we went for a bite to eat like afterwards, and so the whole thing was like a nice evening out, and I was so pleased to get that Vox amp, and he was a really nice guy as well. Had a really nice white Firebird, and yeah. Better not carry on, because it is too late now. And look, I can switch the pickups off. But yeah, this is a wonderful piece. It's just gutting that the bridge is going to break up. But yeah, that's definitely a plan. The rig I was using, like, somebody said a comment about Tube Screamers, sort of being all like all gravel, and they prefer the cream. And it's like, I do like cream as well as gravel. I don't live off gravel. But I do know what you mean. It's like, I do know what you mean. But it's like, yeah, that Crazy Cacti is a really good clone of the Full Drive 2 MOSFET. There's like videos on here on YouTube which just show the two like side by side, you know, identical. There's actually a really good channel called Guns and Guitars, and he like shows copies of stuff with the real stuff and if it measures up, and it's like, that's a really good channel. He's a strong proponent of like spending the minimum amount for the maximum result. So he doesn't like say, oh, this piece of shit is really good. It's like you'll find things that are actually good. Anyway, waffle. And I really love that Crazy Cacti clone. I was using a DOD 250 there as well, and I was going for a more creamy sound just to, you know, it's sort of the same thing as a Tube Screamer, but it's like, as I think it was Jez, I could be wrong, but I think it was Jez, wonderful guy, I met him on the Mad Malco channel, and he was like saying about the cream, and it's like, yeah, you know, it is really the way to go in many ways. I prefer like a more, it's more down to the people that I admire, and just how long I've been using the setup, so it's like I'm playing some of the tiny little nuances of it more, whereas with sort of other equipment, you know, I'm sort of more out of my depth, and it's like a little bit more difficult to like be on top of the tiny details, the micro details. I'll give you, for instance, is like, I've got a governor which I've been using for years and years, and before that I was using a governor, and before that, and I'm inside and out of that pedal, and it's got quite a complex, very reactive EQ that has, and but because I've been using it for so long, it's like I'm on top of a lot of the nuances. Now, very kindly, because I was so enthusiastic about a demo that he did, Music is Fun, Wiki Channel, sent me a Harley Benton crunch distortion, and it blew me away. It took a week or two to properly appreciate what it could do. That it was an incredible box right through the spectrum of gain. At first I was very conservative with the gain, but I realised that you could go full bore at that thing. You can get, there's something that it does. It is actually a clone of an MI Audio Crunch box, which in itself was based off the Governor. And so, like, in practice, the Governor's retired and the Crunch box has taken over, because the Governor's getting rickety. It's on its like 5th fucking foot switch, because they're very little and dinky and they're prone to fail. This Harley Benton Crunch distortion is like less than 30 quid to replace, so why wouldn't I? But I need to use it loads to get on top of the nuances. I mean, it took me 2 weeks just to do the very fundamental basics. Oh, someone laughing, I thought that was true. I'm going to open the window because I need some air. But, you know, it's like, it is one of my favourite pedals, and it's absolutely part of the rig now. And, you know, and the Crazy Cacti is another clone that really worked out well, being the MOSFET full drive 2 MOSFET. I mean, it's just so good, the Crazy Cacti. The Demon Tube Screamer's good. It's a TS9 and a TS808 switchable clone. That's like really good. That's staying on the rig. I ought to show you these while I'm talking about them. And yeah, it's like, I couldn't be more pleased. There's a couple of choruses that I got which didn't work. One's the Wet Dreams, which has been like advertised on Amazon for like 24 quid or something for ages, and it's like, I don't know why it doesn't work. There's no like indication that it's anything more than a bunch of very cool looking circuit boards, but this like is modulating a signal, but I'm not getting it to work properly. But like I might have done, and I just haven't actually tried it out yet. But yeah, and of course, you know, the Line 6, which I was delighted to I was watching a thing about effects the other day by who are the people that do the Power Spot? True Tone? Right, the main dude of True Tone, and he was talking about like the highest spec, you know, digital pedals, because he was talking about noises, and he mentioned the M13 and the M9 and the M5 and the Strymon. They all share the same DSP chip. Whoa! So the M13 here shares the same guts as the Strymon stuff. I fucking knew it, mate. I've been saying this is good, and I've used like Mark Stevens' Strymon stuff when he got it, and like this did remind me of that the first time I played it, the first impression and all that right then, but I didn't really want to say it because it just sounded like I was bigging it up too much. But holy fucking shit, the guts are the same. Like, well, you know, the DSP chip they're the same. They use the same DSP chip. And that's like an important part of, like, you know, the fidelity of the sound on that, man. So that was pleasing to know, because I already know that it's just fucking absolutely like studio quality on the floor. I fucking know it. I've been saying that. But that was confirmation, and I was really pleased by that. And like I can't speak highly of the M13. It's like it's my favourite piece of effects equipment I've ever had. Of any pedal, of any kind, of any effects system for the guitar of any kind. The M13 is definitely my favourite. I can't, you know, and it's because it's a stomp box modeler. You know, you're modelling 4 stomp boxes, and you've got all these patches, and they're absolutely identical, and the amount of detail you can dig into. You know, should there be signal drop off as if it's real? As if it's the actual pedal, or shall we keep it like, you know, at a unity across the board? Wow. And or unity across the board, except we'll have one that behaves the same when it's switched on. It's doing or switched off. It's doing the same thing as the original did when you switched it off, because I happen to particularly like that sound. So you can put that one in there. It's like, holy shit, the amount of detail. You know, just shaping the signal floor is an incredible, like, detail process, and that silence. So fuck me. Yeah, I love it, because again, I like to think I'm a tone anorak. You know, that we like to go on about the difference between a bias tremolo and an optical tremolo, when, you know, I'm not sure 100. I prefer bias tremolo, but I'm not sure 100% if I could tell the difference between them if I heard them blind. And like, you know, and that's not exactly the most subtle sound to listen to the difference to. To be honest, I'm lying. I probably could, but like, you know, I could easily get fooled, you know, because people are good. Like, you know, they're so good now at like engineering sound, like that they can like put something exactly in the middle. Because like that K-Me's, I'd say, you know, is optical, but like has the feel of like a bias, has some of the feel of a bias. Something, you know, it's interesting, but it's like, you know, isn't it wonderful to get into those sorts of details? And I mean, like, we could do a whole half an hour. I could do a whole half an hour just on that, right? And we could go into the whole ins and outs of, like, you know, the qualities and the richness of optical tremolo versus bias tremolo. You know, Fender versus Vox almost. But yeah, so there's the bass that's coming up, and yeah, it's to get this far, it's amazing. And you know, Mr. Fox is still alive, still full of love for the very specific people in his life. Not much changes, just the date. And yeah, so yeah, next over the horizon, touchwood, already am, the Mad Malco Axel Telly, which is right up my street, really, fit right in. You'll see why, if you've not already seen it, like, I'll show you when you get to see, like, why it's a bit different to anything I've got. I gave my Crush 12 to someone that really helps me out, and I'm going to replace that with a Crush 20. Like, it gave me an excuse to upgrade, you know, and that actually brings me on to something. If anyone comes across like any kind of like Strat with a humbucker in the bridge, like for a cheap price, like really cheap, it's like I need to start looking out for something. I need like there's someone who's there's a kid who's like looking to get his first like rig, and I was going to get him a good rig, and his parents have only got 100 quid to spend for the lot. So I think like if I can get a guitar for like 50-60 quid, and like if I can like, you know, upgrade it with bits that I've got in my own bits box, you know, but like I'm after like a HSS Strat or anything similar. It's got to have a humbucker at the bridge, and ideally I'd like it to have coils somewhere for that bit of versatility, for, you know, like I say. But yeah, it's like trying to do someone a favour there. So if you hear of anything, like give me a shout in the comments. And yeah, that's about it. Just like really pleased to have got this far, and can't thank you enough. I could do a massive list of shout outs, but you know, if you're watching, I hope that a connection is made and something positive can be gained. But like more content coming up. The long-awaited acoustic guitar finger picking breakdowns. Yeah, you know, like more focused, like equipment stuff, which would be more specific, like, you know, one thing at a time and all that. I'll be doing like a rambling thing like what I'm doing now, where I just pack loads of shit into it. I'm just going to structure it just a little bit more. Part of my own, you know, personal journey is like I'm starting to establish better routines. And I think probably the same should come with the YouTube channel. It should just be a little bit more disciplined in the way that, like, it, you know, what I choose to do with it and what gets uploaded. And it'll save me staring at a screen giving you loads of dead air. Know what I mean?